Hi everyone, my name is Soranga Pereira. We are a group of 5 from MBA students from PIM, Group 2 in Oman. Let me introduce our group members. First, Mr. Hafiz Marikha, our team leader, Mr. Mushtaq Ahmed, Mr. Feroz Khan, Mrs. Amiranti, and myself. We are today going to present to you a launch of a new service in the Sultanate of Oman. And we'll be discussing about the findings, the experiences, the interviews, content analysis, and the recommendations. This so-called new FM radio station is called TFM. Dear friends, it is important to know that every once in a while, a revolutionary product or a service comes and it changes everything. The FM radio station that we are speaking about, we call TFM, and the TFM is part of a flagship, one of the biggest and the largest newspaper entities in Oman, Times of Oman. The residents and citizens in the country are experiencing the quality of entertainment and talk shows are being aired from 2018 January. Let me take you through things that I would like to explain about TFM. TFM believes sharing of information. Having said that, let's see about what is about TFM. TFM has embarked on a journey and it has completely changed the model of the approach of the entertainment. TFM believes in sharing information, discussing key topics in the country. It encourages the youth to talk more and harness ideas and share it all with other views and creating the awareness and building bondages among the communities for living with peace and harmony in this country. Their theme is Let's Talk, and they boast of infotainment rather than entertainment. This has been the key of their launch and this has been the theme with Let's Talk. Why this TFM at this point of time where there are 4 stations already in existence? It's about happiness. When TFM was launched since January 2018, they wanted to create the happiness, a cultural change that they wanted to do through building knowledge-based listeners group among all the communities and especially focusing more on the Asian expatriate population. It is a fact that Asian populations or the professional employee groups who are contributing in building in Oman economy. There could be some instances where people are not being appreciated, people are not being recognized. So there is a gap. So what TFM is doing? They are building the bridges, they are opening up the places, they are opening the spaces, opening people to come out and the voice, the freedom, the liberal approach, which is the new thing and the new opening in this country. With Time Talk as part of Times of Oman digital publication, and TFM makes sure the listeners get deep insight into content, live conversation between guest and listeners. Now let me take you through the overview. First I would like to discuss a little bit about the idea creation for radio station and formation. TFM carries a legacy of the flagship media company, Times of Oman, in the Sultanate. Now the idea starting up a new FM radio station was discussed in 2016, and that was to diversify the product portfolio in the business related media. The chairman of the TFM, the flagship entity at Times of Oman, Mr. Isa Muhammad Al-Sajjali, a visionary leader who always believed in creating the value for the general public while creating the wealth for the shareholders. Now there's one more thing Mr. Isa wanted to, when he discussed with the group of investors and the bankers when he was launching this newly cultured the TFM program, he wanted to have a different space. And he created that with focusing the youth and the expatriate community. Although business was registered in 2016, it took off only in 2018. Why? There was blocks in the regulatory framework. So it took a couple of years to clear up the legal background, the regulatory approvals. However, 2018 January, they started operating. It's available in Muscat, Batina and Salalah areas in the frequency of 95.4. Let me quickly take you through its stakeholders' vision and value creation. As indicated in my earlier slide, TFM, the owner, Mr. Zajari, is a visionary, a media mogul, entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a common man raised from a poor family to the current stature. Aziza owned and operated the FM station by changing the traditional music-based radio station. Instead, his vision to provide a combination of information, entertainment, feel-good content, celebrity news, world-around instant news, and creating that marketing impact. Finally, I would like to take you through quickly on the identification of gap analysis and the strategy. Here in Oman, we have about 1 million expatriate, especially subcontinent population. All the other radio stations, they were focusing on the European as well as the Omani market. But this TFM, it focuses where the opportunity, where the gap can be created, it is from the expatriate market. That is where we say in slang, it's happening. So that is where TFM is capturing. And also, one thought should be given of the youth. Oman, between 32, 35, 40, that bucket of the population is growing. So they look for freedom. They have liberal ideas. So TFM is promoting those ideas. One of the strategies is to harness and to give the opportunity for people, and by creating the synergy with their media group, where they will intend to take the business to the next level. With that thought, let me call upon my colleague, Mr. Feroz Khan. He will take you through in detail about the gap as well as the pre-launch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suranga. I'll start my presentation by elaborating how we have done this research. First, we have collected the secondary data from the secondary research sources. Further, we collect information from primary research sources. That is, we have conducted interview with the CEO of TFM. From the information provided by him, we prepare this presentation. We would like to present our findings in 3 different phases. First, we talk about the pre-launch. Second, we talk about the launch. And the last, we look into the post-launch evaluation. When we look at the pre-launch evaluation, we look at who are the potential customers for the TFM. Secondly, we look at the current market for TFM and what are the service gap TFM has identified before it go into the market, and where to position the product appropriately into the market. These are the main things that we have looked at in the pre-launch. I would like to elaborate what the TFM has done by looking at the service gap. When you look at the service gap, we can identify that what is the perception of the customer and what is the perception of the management. The management has a different perception at the current market. They believe that English-speaking European are the target customers and they are expecting a product which is tailored to the European customers. But the reality is different. The customer expectations are different. There are a huge number of customers who prefer the information of, or as the customers who are from the Asian subcontinent, they prefer to listen English services. Then the TFM has identified the correct service gap where it has launched its product. Then I would like to highlight that the TFM has launched its product based on market research information. By looking at the market research data, 67% of the radio listeners are males and 33% of the radio listeners are females. At the same time, there are 57% of the radio listeners are young people at the age of 18 to 35, and large number of population located in the urban cities are listening to the radio program. Or in other words, the main market the TFM target to launch is the urban population, not the rural population. I would like to look at the main research findings and how the product has been launched successfully into the market. You can see all these contents and all the findings what they have done, and they have successfully entered into the oligopolistic market, into the radio industry. And when we look at the favorable conditions, what you could see in the market before you enter into, the TFM has very large economies of scale in managerial aspects, or in other words, they have a well-established network of customers as well as well-established based infrastructure facility. They are planning to launch their product based on the infrastructures which are available with them, or simply it could be a logical expansion of its existing product portfolio. Finally, when we look at the launch of TFM, we could identify one of the main concern, that is TFM, the target customer group are the age group people in between 18 to 35, but the TFM launch to the programs which are informative programs, but we could not find a sufficient research evidence which shows that the young population would prefer the informative programs. But what we have done is we have asked this question from the CEO when we do our primary research, and I would like to take you for the answer which is given by the CEO of TFM, and you can see the answer. Thank you very much.
Don't know. Okay, it's just only on digital, and because we have like 10 million visitors per month on digital on Times of Oman, okay, so we can get any data we want from Google Analytics. So, and because we are targeting the same population who are reading us on Times of Oman, so it was easy to us. Okay.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Yes, we have observed what CEO has expressed in terms of our concern. Of course, we can identify that how TFM has used the big data in order to identify who are their potential customers and their requirement, and develop the product in order to cater the need of the potential customers. And I would like to call upon Mr. to continue the presentation on the launch aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Feroz. I will be talking about how TFM did the STP, the segmentation, targeting, and how did they position the radio station, and also the marketing mix, the 7 Ps related to the service launch. So in terms of segmentation, TFM actually did not segment the total market. They said the total population in Oman, they did not segment the total population. Instead, they went straight away to the listeners. So how did they actually segment the listeners? They used two bases basically. Geographical segmentation, they went into the number of listeners in each of the area or the governorate, as well as the demographic segmentation in terms of male-female mix, which Feroz Khan touched upon already, and also the age group. Basically from 18 to 35, that was 35, even 40, that was the target that they identified later. So in terms of our critical evaluation, when we analyzed the population spread in Oman, they actually focused on 1 million listeners, which is only 22% of the total population, which means they actually missed an untapped market of 78%. It is true that the whole 78% may not be listening because there may be very old people as well as very young crowd. However, still we believe, based on our analysis, they missed a bigger chunk of the market share. So let's see how they did the targeting. TFM actually identified 3 key regions based on their geographical segmentation. They identified 3 key regions, which is one is Muscat, which is the capital, North Patina and Dhofar. So they actually targeted only 2.5 regions only, but which had the highest number of listeners, which is the existing listeners. Based on the target audience, they were targeting the English-speaking listeners, of which it's like two-thirds is male and the 1/3 is the female listeners. In that, based on our interview, even the CEO was highlighting they were actually targeting the Asian expat, because all the existing English radio channels, they were focusing on they were catering to the European customers. But looking at the businesses, who are running the businesses in Oman, mostly it is the subcontinent businessmen, Indian origin businessmen. So they had to target that customer group so that they will get the revenue also from those businesses. So this is kind of a blue ocean strategy based on our assessment. They actually focused on a segment of customers instead of competing for the existing customers in the existing market. They focused on a new segment. So further analyzing the targeting, how they actually did the targeting. They, based on the company objectives and resource allocation, they were focusing on this particular segment of the market to break even in overall break even in 8 years, which is quite a long years, but as a bigger media group who is having 70% market share, they can afford to run a radio station even for 8 years. But based on our discussion during the interview, CEO mentioned that though we assessed to be in 8 years to break even, they, based on the last 2 months performance, they believe that they will be able to break even much faster than they planned. And also, based on the company objective, they want to achieve something like a 2 million real worth of revenue in 5 years' time. To reach a market share also 15%, but they will not get the market leadership, but they will be somewhere 3rd, 4th within 5 years. Which is in a way is a bit conservative. What CEO was mentioning, they don't want to say we want to achieve 20-30% market share, then all the other media group, they will start becoming more alert. So they want to go slow, but they will be targeting to become the market leader. Based on how they assess the segment attractiveness, however, they did not really detail enough how they actually assess the segment attractiveness, because they did not analyze the competitors in terms of strength and weaknesses. So they did not perform a competitor analysis. They relied mostly on, okay, we are a big media group, we have a market share of 70%, so that's enough. They relied on their strength more than focusing on the competitors' strength and weaknesses. Based on the previous analysis and the STP they have done, how they did the positioning. They were focusing on, like Feroz Khan mentioned, they were focusing on the young crowd. So the program which mixed they were targeting is the news, talk shows, sports, musical hits, etc. However, based on our discussion, they did not have a real point of difference, except for the fact that they are focusing on mixed program because they were targeting Asian crowd. However, they have still not explored, for example, combo packages, because they have a bigger media channel, they have online newspapers, paper-based newspapers, so they did not think of how can we market this as a combo. So in terms of competitors' frame of reference, they only look at the existing market share of the existing players instead of their strengths and weaknesses. In terms of once they finished the STP, how they focused on the marketing mix. So, because it is a service launch, they focused on the 7 marketing mix. So, product, as I mentioned, it is about the talk show. So, basically the infotainment, information and entertainment mixed program. The place, in terms of place, they were targeting initially only 3 locations. So, for the time being, they have placed their service in the 3 locations only. However, CEO was saying that they are planning to cover more areas of Oman within the next few months. In terms of promotion, how did they promote this channel before the launch? They used their paper, online media, as well as Facebook and some of the TV channels in Oman. In terms of pricing, as I clearly mentioned before, they did not have a point of difference to charge more. So they actually went with a going market rate. So the other aspect of the marketing mix, people, they actually went into, they recruited internal and operational technical staff who are well trained and they have previous experience. And however, for the purpose of marketing their radio products, they actually went into third-party agencies. So they did not use their internal staff. They don't have an internal marketing team. So in terms of process, they actually set up very stringent SLAs how to fine-tune a product and before it get launched. In terms of physical evidence, because this is being a service product, it is very important that you have a strong physical evidence. So they focus more on ambient and the high quality studio and big large studio. And they also focused on how they are being marketed and how people are following them in Facebook, Instagram, etc. So that's it based on the STP and 7 marketing mix, 7 Ps. So let me call upon Hafiz, who will take you through the post-launch evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustaq. Now let me talk about the post-launch evaluation of TFM. How did TFM capture the opportunity? TFM captured the opportunity by achieving 50% of the estimated 1 million listeners targeted. And this was done successfully by entering into the oligopolistic market. And also TFM met 50% of its revenue target so far. All activities carried out timely scheduled except government approvals. TFM focused on infotainment, that is information and entertainment, and successfully penetrated the youth segment by providing appropriate programs. TFM carried out the successful pilot run for their broadcast from January to February 2018, and that was a successful launch. TFM carefully positioned itself to its English-speaking Asian listeners, and by that TFM achieved a customer feedback, which by evaluation we found out that Facebook has around 3,400 followers. Comparatively, Instagram and Twitter was less penetrated to Facebook. But however, our overall assessment was TFM had been launched successfully. Now over to you, Amira, to do the recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hafiz. As a group, we recommend to extend the coverage to other governorates of Oman and to catch up on the lost revenue. Also, to maintain the edge by focusing on high quality infotainment through innovation. We suggested a strategic initiative to the CEO of TFM. We observed that the main publication, that is Times of Oman, which is a cash cow with almost 70% market share. However, with the present trend of social media and digital media, there is a risk to printed media such as Times of Oman, which is at the moment is a cash cow and might not continue to exist that way. Therefore, we believe that a star such as TFM should be groomed into cash cows in view of sustainability and profitability of the group. All in all, in our opinion, TFM was a successful launch that adds value to the overall Muscat Media Group, adding another feather to its already existing fame of glory. Concluding this presentation, I wish to extend our sincere appreciation to the management of TFM for their cooperation to make this research a success. It has been an interesting review of the launch of TFM. As a group of MBA students, we have had the first-hand experience with the people on the ground facing the reality of the launch. We have gained priceless insights as to how and what it requires for a successful product launch. And also, we wish to extend our thanks to the Management Research Methods lecturer, Dr. Trevor Mendes, for assigning such an interesting and practical topic as our group assignment. Thank you.